Hello, everybody, and welcome to Security Happy Hour. With me right now, I have David Lee. Now, I should have Charles Shirer joining us a little bit later. We'll see if that happens, but regardless, I'm happy to have David here with me today. And we are going to do this like always. We are going to have some drinks, we're going to have some fun, and we're going to talk security and just kind of where people come from, where they're going, and we'll see how it goes. So, David, since you're here, why don't you get us started? I see your YouTube channel. I see a lot of what you've been doing on there, but what all do you got going on, man?
Yeah, so my background is in identity and access management, and man, I got into this, crazy industry just kind of, identity and access management project we needed to go and put together. I had joined as a young developer, thinking I knew everything, and architect comes in and says, "Here, you need to learn how to deploy this system. I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks. Figure it out, kid." And 20 years later, man, I stayed in it. I started to dive into what was identity and access management, directories, certificates, all these kind of things, and I just loved it. I always had a fascination with security when I was going through college, and I just kind of stuck with it. And so now what I've done is I've taken my podcast and specifically in the identity and access management industry, I try my best to highlight so just some good conversations, highlight some people of diversity, kind of talk about some of the issues we have in the tech world with diversity and inclusion, but also just trying to highlight different people that are doing things within the industry that sometimes people, just wouldn't think about or don't hear from. And that's really it, man. Just continue to talk and have the conversations and kind of bring a realness to all the stuff. Like I'm kind of an anti cybersecurity marketing guy. Like I think we just market this way too way too hackerish, like the freaking movie where everything's just all hackers wear hoodies and they sit in the dark and they do all this stuff or whatever. And I just try and shine a light. I was like, dude, this is just everyday people who, really all kind of have the same mindset and do a lot of cool shit. Yeah, so that's pretty much that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm with you on that one. I mean, granted, I like my hoodies. Don't get me wrong.
Dude, look, I love a hoodie too.
But no, actually, and it's funny you mentioned that because I did a video on that a couple weeks ago now, talking about how everybody has this hacker mindset of. It isn't everybody. Those of us in security, those people in
Yeah.
IT, and even a select few others see that we're just your average person, right? You could be
Right.
a football player, you can be whatever, but just have this love for cybersecurity.
Yeah.
What you look like, what you do doesn't dictate it, and that's the same for any career field, really. But
Right.
we
Yeah.
see this stigma get get brought in, and it's really disheartening because I don't like seeing people kind of not want to be here. Right?
Right.
It's a vast field, and there's a lot of personality. There's a lot of what do you call it? There's just a lot of everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I've had and tried to have different aspects, different people on the show, especially just to get everybody's opinion because everybody has a different opinion on how things should go, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to security, identity and access management. I
Yeah.
have been blue, red, and consulting
Yeah.
type work. You've got other people that advocate for privacy and all this other stuff. So it doesn't. It's kind of hard to see that stigma because honestly, it's society and the media that brought it on. It really
Yeah.
is.
And it's what it's because it's what gets put out there. And so I think it's funny when I talk to most people like outside the industry, like friends of mine, stuff like that or whatever. Right. And it's crazy how and I don't know where this came from really. I should research it at one point, but like when everybody thinks of security, man, it straight goes to like hack it and all these things. I'm like, guys, there's so much more to like security than just that. Like, yeah, that's a that's a cool part of it. That's a fun part of it. But it's like, you know, there's everything that comes with it. Like there's the whole policy side of it. There's figuring out physical security and figuring out infrastructure and your continuity plans, like all these things kind of coming together. But it's interesting that what gets marketed is just what most people see is either like red teamers or stuff like that, or people thinking I got to come in and be like super technical. I'm like, dude, some of the best quote unquote hackers I've been in the world don't even have a college degree, right? Like one guy who I know who could I met him like years ago. We met in Vegas right before Black Hat. I got introduced to a buddy of mine, and we ended up partying at God, what club was that? I forgot what club it was, but it was
it's funny. You mentioned partying, and from everything I've seen, as introverted as a lot of security professionals are, we are some of the biggest partiers that like to go out and just do crazy ass shit.
Yes, dude, it's so crazy, man. We ended up partying in Vegas at this club, like just hanging out all night, just kind of talking and geeking out a little bit. And like he's from a security aspect, from like purely like breaking down an application, right? Like reverse engineering an application just from looking at an architecture, poking around with it. And I was just like, man, he's like, yeah, dude, I studied philosophy in college and didn't finish. And then I just picked up Perl one day and I was like, oh, this is cool. What happens if I do this? And that's the thing that I tell everybody is like, look, you want to get into this industry, like forget, not knocking any of the things you can go get and certificates and all this stuff or whatever. What it all starts with is up here. You have to be set to look at something and go, I wonder how that works. If that's how you think, you will be okay in this industry. Like that's all you need is that I wonder how this works and not be afraid to poke at it.
That's what I think a lot of people don't realize is the hacker security mindset isn't I want to break into things. I mean, I'm sure for some people it is.
Right.
But it's I want to know how it works. I want to know if I can make it do something that it's not supposed to do. And even when you're looking at the different aspects of security, it's still the same thing, right? How do we secure something? How do we make it better? How do we make something more efficient? And I've talked about it a lot. Actually, it was another one of the things I talked about in that one video is the actual term hacker came from the MIT Model Railroad Club. Had nothing to do with computers, had nothing to do with security. The term was coined because of the MIT Model Railroad Club. So it's crazy how awesome coffee mug there, Charles. Oh my goodness, he's connecting to audio, and that is a great way to come on. There it is. There's my man.
How's it going?
Hey, you're a little late. It's all good though, man. I'm glad you're here. I really am. I'm glad you're here.
Yes.
So we were just talking, but you and all your motivation and all the energy you bring. I need to have you do an introduction of kind of who you are and how you got started and what you're doing now, and then we'll get back into the conversation flow as we were going.
Okay. Well, I'm Charles Shirer, aka the BSD Bandit. I am a red teamer / penetration tester for Red Siege. Ow! I just started with them on this past Monday. And I've been in IT for, over 17 years now.
Yeah, that's that up,
it's been that long. And doesn't it? And I mean, like what got me started in, really IT, forget IT, in computers. I was just a guy that just wanted to be a Unix geek and to just have fun. And that was it. And that's what got the train rolling. And I've been rocking and rolling ever since. And I'm super excited. So, yes, this is me, the BSD Bandit. And that's how I got my start in tech.
Yeah, definitely, man. Like I said, you bring, it's not every day, even though you probably do it every day, or at least quite frequently. But at least once or twice a week, I see your videos roll through Twitter of you just all energy, all motivation, like all positivity. And it's crazy because we see so much negativity, so much drama. Now, maybe it's just I'm not following the right people to see it. Because I see it kind of secondhand of like some of my friends are like, oh my God, there's so much drama. And I believe them, right? I know it's there. I've seen elitism. I've seen gatekeeping. I've seen all this crazy stuff. And people are like, oh, you don't have a bug bounty to your name. You don't have a CVE. You're a woman. You're this, that, and the third. Like, I've seen all these things happen. And so I know it exists, but maybe I'm just not following the right people to get involved in the conversation until like, 50 retweets late. Then I'm finally like, wait, what happened? Like, so to see you always out there with that
crazy
energy is nuts, because I try to have it, especially like on my Motivation Monday videos. Like I do, but there are some days where I'm doing a video and it's just more serious. And so my energy level might not seem there. Even though it might not seem it, just because it's more of a serious tone. So that's why I look forward to these videos. Security happy hour is where it's at, because it's when I get to laugh and have a good time and not worry.
Hey, I have my Tumblr.
Shameless plug.
I know, but as we do with that picture, I was like, man, I gotta get me some merch that I gotta start plugging on these things.
Dude, you've seen mine? I mean, come on, you've seen mine
almost every day.
Dude, I was hoping the hoodie would get here. Actually, I think it's in my mailbox. I haven't checked my mail.
Dude, yours will be there. Yours will be there Monday. I checked all the tracking numbers today, so yours will be there Monday. I got a few other guys.
Look at that.
I'll have one guy get his tomorrow, and then 2 others will be Monday also.
Bet.
So it'll be there.
There you go, man. It's hoodie season.
Yeah,
it is. Somebody else posted.
Yeah,
somebody else posted about needing hoodies on Twitter, and honestly, I didn't even know you had your own. Good old BSD Bandit, but I would have tagged you in the post also. But I was like, look, have you been to my store? I've only been advertising it for like 2 months now that I have all this stuff.
Hold on. I need to go to your store, because I will purchase a hoodie.
Yes,
yeah. I'm
going, man.
So here's the thing about mine, right? So my wife makes them all right, and mugs and pens. Like, we want to make everything, and get away from that third party reseller. Like, I'm going through Printful right now for some of my stuff, like the beanie, which is quite nice, I gotta say. So we're doing that. So we're trying to go through. She makes it also. Just this past week, we sent out 5 hoodies, I believe it was, and then she made another one, which we will eventually put online. She made another one for herself, one for my mom, and one for my mother-in-law. And of course, they're all sparkly and glittery and shiny. Shiny. So she has those. So eventually, those will go up. Like I said, the problem is I don't have a steady income from this, so I don't have the funds until I get paid to buy more stuff. Or if I wait for somebody to buy something, then they bought it, and then it's just you get one hoodie for I gotta pay a higher price for it because it's just one instead of like 20 or 30. So hence, buy me a coffee, GoFundMe, and Patreon, because I need money coming in so that I can bulk order stuff and be able to make other stuff. And trust me, it'll get fun. And if you email me and PayPal me money, then it's even more customized, because then we can even sort out the colors you want on the shirt. Just saying.
Okay. I'm gonna go. All right. So it's better to go with the better customization would be with the email and PayPal, correct?
Yes, but you can't see what's on there because it does go through PayPal. So you can't see what's on there. In a way, like, if you are just doing a hoodie, it'll do all the shipping for me. So if you do it through my site, I can actually print out the label and do all the shipping and everything. And I was smarter. I increased the weight because I had it underweighted and had to come out of pocket for all the shipping I did this week.
I'm definitely getting. I'm looking at the mask. Got me shopping.
Right?
Charles going shopping.
So we're talking about clothes and shit. I love it. Look, guys.
But it got me shopping.
So I got to ask you this though, real quick. As a red teamer, how'd you get into red teaming? And hold on, let me restate that. Are you more of a red teamer or a pen tester? Because they're different. So which one really are you?
Yes,
and which one do you prefer?
Personally, I'm just a hacker, right? And the difference between both, of course, red teaming is more strategic, and I'm a huge fan of chess. I like both. So I love chess. So when I on a red team engagement, I feel like I'm playing chess again because it's all strategic. It's less hacking than with penetration testing.
Right.
Because pen testing, they know that you're there. You can just bang on the walls and just go crazy until you get out. Pretty much. And with red teaming, especially, I love Cobalt Strike. It's near dear to my heart.
You love what?
And I like doing like different things. Cobalt Strike.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But I like the fact also with red teaming, you're pretty much building your tool set as well too. Because you don't know what engagement you're going to get in on, and you kind of want to have a tool set. You don't have one right out the box because again, what if, for example, you can't use MS Build? You have to be kind of build your own tool set to prepare for different situations. So that's why I say with red teaming, I like them kind of like both the same. I'm just a hacker. That's it.
Yeah,
I like doing this stuff. I like to see if I can bypass different security controls.
That was one of the things I loved on.
And it's just all fun.
Yeah, one of the things I did to get past Bitdefender on a machine one time, actually my machine, this was probably a year or two ago, give or take. So they've probably fixed it since then, since I let them know. Is I took a standard Python backdoor, just a reverse shell, but I ran it through Pi to exe, turned it into an exe file. Now sending it was a pain. I couldn't just send it. Like I tried email, I tried Facebook, I tried a bunch of different ways to send it across the wire, just to see how it would work, and it got denied every time. Gmail was like, "Are you crazy?" But finally, I just moved the file myself, and it didn't get picked up in the scan. And then when I ran the file, it never got stopped. So I was like, "Hey guys, you might want to be aware that this is possible." So it's a legitimate way to backdoor, because then you don't need the interpreter, right? They don't have to have Python installed on that Windows box. It actually, when you run Pi to exe, it embeds everything all in that file. So it comes with a mini interpreter and all the imports and everything that it would need for that file to run, and then it just runs. So it's crazy because I love Python. I love Python. So seeing things like that, and I got it from Veil Evasion, because before Veil Evasion kind of got kicked out of Kali for some reason, like it's not there in its truest form anymore. Well, at least not by default. Before it got kicked out, that was one of the tools that it used, is you could do Pi to exe and turn a Python file to an exe file, and it did it all for you. Only it did it through Wine and some other backwards methods that it would use. So I find it interesting that there's always a different way to do things.
So
and now I'm on a Rust kick. So I'm on Rust right now. I'm actually trying to convert a lot of the Python tool. I actually try to build a port scanner in Rust right now.
So you trying to build what?
So that's getting interesting. Rust. Build a port scanner in Rust.
Oh, okay,
yeah. In the Rust programming language. You know what's crazy? I was having a conversation. I was on Nova Code and Coffee, right? So, and I said, you know what? Programmers and hackers, we are just fiends. And people was like, fiends? I said, yeah, think about it. Our drug of choice is what the programming language that we use. The gateway drug that we're actually using starts out with scripting, whether it's Bash, whether it's BAT with DOS scripting, or whether it's with Corn Shell. And then once we get into that, we'll call that weed. And then once you want to get to the harder stuff, that's where C and assembly comes in. If you want to, if that doesn't tickle your fancy, that doesn't get you to a higher mark, then you know what? Let me get a little bit of Perl. Yeah, I was hooked on Perl for many years. Then I tried this new drug called Python, and now I've been hooked on Python. And it's 2 different versions of Python. 2 was awesome, but 3 really takes you to the moon. And now
3's that death. It's death.
Now I can't believe So now, it makes you deaf. Now people are trying different drugs called Go.
But you gotta talk about Go.
A little bit of Rust. There's a little bit of Rusties out there. There's a little bit of JavaScript. And even JavaScript has their own form of their own drawing. So you got JavaScript, you got Angular, you got React. I mean, man, they get stronger and stronger. There's no memo on these things.
So you know what?
So ladies and gentlemen, I just compared programming languages to drugs. It's crazy.
You know what's funny though, especially with like JavaScript,
and we will find the latest and greatest.
what I find interesting, like as the languages get, except for Go, right? And I've played around with Go a little bit, and I still need to go back and kind of dig into it a little bit more. But JavaScript specifically, I look at like Angular, what they did with that, messed around with React. The funny thing is, it takes me back to when I first learned like C and assembly, right? Which I'm not about to sit here and break out and tell any kind of lie and say that I know assembly like that. But I remember when I was learning it, my professor was like, "Look, if you learn these basic languages, like this is theory. Like this is how you actually talk to the machine. Everything else, the higher you go, right, the more abstract that you're getting away from the actual machine."
Yeah.
So the hilarious thing was he would always tell us, you want to understand the underneath and what's going on, because that's where you're actually moving the memory and changing the bits. But the higher you go, the more abstraction and so programmers can find it easier. So I find like with JavaScript, especially a lot of things that they do, it's hilarious sometimes when I'm looking at all these different projects and I look at GitHub comments and people be like, "Oh yeah, I was running this and it didn't quite work, but then I ran an update and it worked." And I'm like, "Yeah, but do you understand what package you just updated and why that worked?" No, you don't. You're just, you're playing up here like a kid on top of this stuff, and it's like everything beneath you have no clue how it works. And I just sit here and laugh. I'm just like, man, I'm the dude that's going and looking at these packages underneath it. I was like, oh, so wait, this package relies on this one. Oh, it's this that you're using. So if I just go and change this, I fucked all y'all up. Okay, cool. Like, and it's crazy to me that like where I love that people can just pick up programming. Like, I'm not one of these guys. I got my comp sci degree, all this stuff, whatever. And I'm just like, look, people come to me and like, should I go to college? I want to get a program. I was like, what do you want to do? Like, if you want to go be like a computational computer scientist and go build like, quantum mechanic, like chips, yes, you're probably going to need to go and
go to college. Yeah.
If you're telling me you just want to be a programmer, like, like go to Udemy, like go get some JavaScript, like, no, or go like, if you really feel like you need instruction, go get a coding boot camp for like $5,000. Don't go spend 50, 70, 90. No,
well,
like
and that's
that serious.
And that's the big thing for me.
Nope, doesn't make sense.
I actually get in a fight with my parents about it. Well, my mom, anyways.
Right.
Is like, look, I understand college. I got a degree, right? I've got a degree from CalU, Computer Information Systems. I don't feel like I'm using it, but I did get it, and I got a lot from the instructors. But I got most of my knowledge. I did it before I started learning computers and stuff like that, even before I hit high school. And then even throughout the boot camps and stuff, half the boot camps I went to, I learned not from the course, but from the instructor. So if there was something they knew that I didn't, even if it had nothing to do with the course, I'll be like, hey, so can you explain this to me? Like, help me out. Because I went into half the courses already doing it before I went there. I just went to get the certification just to have a piece of paper. I could have cared less. I wanted to learn what the instructors knew. And so for me, it wasn't about passing the test. It was about learning from other people. And so I think that's, even when I used to, talk to a lot of college students and stuff like that, they're like, well, what can I do to get a job when I get it? I'm like, well, what are you doing now? They're like, well, I'm going to school. I'm like, do you have a GitHub? Do you have a YouTube channel? Do you have a blog? Do you have anything that shows you're doing work outside of just being taught something? And they're like, well, I'm like, look, you want a job? Make yourself known. Get on Twitter, get on LinkedIn, get a blog, get a YouTube channel, get a GitHub, whatever it takes. If you want to do programming and scripting, have a GitHub. You want to do hacking, security, blue team, build your own lab, do a blog and a YouTube channel. You don't necessarily have to have a GitHub, but have a blog and a YouTube channel so that you can direct people and people can see who you are. Because I guarantee you, with all the HR filters out there, and I've talked about it, we've talked about other security happy hours, with all the HR filters out there, that degree can hurt you getting past HR, but I bet you if you know the hiring manager or they find you, then that degree isn't going to mean nothing because you're sending them your resume. You're not sending it to HR. You're sending it to them.
Exactly.
And so getting out there and getting your name known is the biggest thing. And I think that's what a lot of people are afraid of. Look, I got to be honest. Dayspring Dayspring or Day Cyber Walks on Twitter got an internship as a freshman, freshman, sophomore in college. A lot of people were afraid to do it. They're like, oh, I gotta wait till I'm a junior or senior. This man applied to like 200 and some jobs for an internship and got one as like a freshman or sophomore. And he has his own YouTube channel. He's doing things to show how to do A+ and Net+, like how he's doing his training and the things that he's going about. And that's what I look for. You know, when I see people going out of their way to do things to show that they are trying to learn, they're making steps in the right direction. And that's the same thing for programming and scripting and security. There are so many ways to show how you can do things in this field that don't require college. You don't need college. I mean, it's a nice to have if you can go for free. But if you're coming out of pocket or taking student loans out for 50, 60 grand, get that out of here. No. Go do it yourself.
Especially today with like,
don't do it.
In this world of like information is just overly shared, right? Like GitHub to me is both beautiful and dangerous at the same time, right? Like, so you can, everything you need to go out. If I wanted to create an application tonight, I go to GitHub, I got packages, like everything can go update. At the same time, like literally everybody's stuff is out on GitHub. So it was about like 2 or 3 years ago, there was this big thing. I won't name the companies, but let's just say there were some big consulting firms, right? Whose people were, you know, going and working for these organizations, right? But they were putting everything on GitHub, right? But what they weren't doing on the public GitHub was removing the test credentials to the actual real systems that they were tested in, right? Like, so I'm like, even if you're like, look, I want to get into security, I want to do different things or whatever, like go to GitHub, go find somebody's open source project, download it, tinker around with it, break it, go see the comments and things and bugs that people are saying aren't working and go, okay, let me go see if I can figure this out and fix it, submit it back. Like those type of things, like it's just so, and more so than I'm jealous because more so when I was coming up, none of this stuff existed. So I'm like, if I'm like early 20s and I'm getting, it's like, I want to get into security. I'm like, are you crazy? Like, open up Google and everything is yours.
And that's what's funny because I tell people I didn't grow up in security. I didn't have friends that were like programmers or whatever. I had a few friends that had punters on AOL, and you'd get really mad when they would punch you offline, and you're like, dude, now I got to dial up for another half hour before I can talk to you again. But you know, I didn't grow up in that realm. I played football, I played baseball. Like I was a jock. It's who I was. I just loved computers. So I was a little late in terms of when a lot of people start learning this. Now I found out later on that I wasn't. There's still a lot of 20 and 30-some-year-olds that are just now getting into it. And I'm like, I don't feel so bad now because I didn't grow up in it. But I did grow up on computers. And so seeing it, and it's funny because even though I can write scripts if I so choose, I do know how to read them. I don't necessarily like to write scripts, right? I'm not a programmer at heart. So I'll look at somebody else's, see what they're doing, and make the changes I need. And one of the biggest things that I've always done is I hate options. I hate having to have -O this, -T that. So what I do is I get rid of the arguments and I put it in input. I'm like, I want to take input. What is your IP range? What is this, and this? So I have literally taken like the Black Hat Python and Violent Python books, and anywhere there's an option, I turn it into input and then link that input to where the option goes. And I'm like, that's how I operate because I don't want to have to remember options. I hate remembering options because I'm like, crap, now I need help to figure out which options I need. Screw this. I just go in, rewrite the code, and put everything in through inputs. And it still helps me learn to code and learn where everything's at. So it works, and you still understand how the program is functioning.
Exactly. Here's another thing too. So, and I tell this anybody that's trying to get into web app hacking, right? First things first. What if you really pick something just to hack on? Whether it's Django, let's use Django for example, right? If I'm going to hack Django, the first thing I'm going to do is sign up for the Django mailing list. That's where you get all the juicy details about the security bugs. Like I have an email account that's just full of mailing lists, right? And then say if I run across, like, say, a Django server, right? And I'm like, oh, okay, it's running this particular version. The first thing I do, I jump right into my mailing list. What security bugs were was happening with that particular version,
Right.
and that allows me to get around because a lot of that stuff's not going to be posted on Google. A lot of that stuff is posted in the mailing list. So if you really want to know what's going on with the application, and this is not just for web, it can be for any application. If you really want to know what's really going on security-wise with any application where you can try to bypass their stuff, get on their mailing list. Because the mailing list, they're going to tell you all the nooks and crannies of what's going on. And all you do is just sit there and you just watch, and then you can either write a script or you can just have something to filter out what you're actually looking for.
Right.
My keywords are either
I never even thought about that. Getting on the mailing list to do those, because even though I have so many emails, I really get tired of getting email of like to this day I get emails and I'm just like, why am I still on this list? And like Google was supposed to have been like, hey, if you don't open something, like what they changed, and we're like, hey, if you don't open something for so many days or so many emails, we'll go through and unsubscribe for you. Man, I ain't seen a please unsubscribe thing from Google and I don't know how long. And I'm like, dude, you were supposed to be doing this for me. Like, let me click you to unsubscribe me, so I ain't got to do it for all these different lists.
Exactly. So that's the thing, so that's how I look at it. I'm like, oh, okay, you know what? I'm on this mailing list and I have a specific folder that it just goes to. And then I'll be like, okay, let me search in this folder. Hey, authentication bypass. Oh, cross-site scripting bug. Like I'll filter through for those particular keywords. And if I find it's like, okay, for this particular version. And that's how a lot of times I'm able to get past a lot of this stuff too.
You gave me a lot of good ideas there. I'm gonna have to talk to my guys about that and have us start doing that, because I didn't even think about doing that one. So I mean, I got some good guys I work with now, and
this is
I'm talking some smart dudes, and I'm like, all right. And it's funny because even though I consider myself like a professional, like I'm able to learn anything. I will never consider myself an expert, and I will never consider myself better than anybody. But like I have worked with some smart dudes where I'm just like, how do you know that? Like, how do you know how to do that? Like, I as much as I've done things, like I hit brick walls and I'm just like, oh my God. And I'm like, hey dude, have you ever, no, give me a second. Dude, what the, how?
And they're like,
dude, like,
oh yeah, I just happen to know this.
I tell people all the time, man, like this field will
like the crypto folks.
Yeah, the crypto folks are ridiculous. But this field will humble you like quickly, right? Like you cannot come into like you gotta come into this field constantly want to learn and get better and just realize that look, I'm never going to know everything. And the moment that I even have a inkling of a thought that I know all there is to know, like something else will come up. Because it's just this, you will just
someone will show you.
People, you'll be like, oh yeah, I've seen everything. I know this or whatever. And you'll meet like that one guy will be like, oh yeah, well, have you seen this? And you're like, what the sorceress? Like, what is this? Like, what dark magic have you summoned to make this do that? Like, and it's all the time. And that, for me, like that's what I love about it. Like, you never get bored in this industry, like never, because there's always something new. And yeah, to your point, Charles, the crypto guys, I don't even mess with crypto guys, bro. Like anybody that know math and programming that well, I be like, look, we good, right? I go by their office at like, we good, we good. Okay, just making sure.
Hey, hugs, digital hugs,
right? Like,
but yeah, it's but definitely try out that method, man. Like, whatever application that you're trying to attack, or whatever, try to get on a mailing list, and you might find, and you'll find some juicy info.
Interesting.
Because you can do some cool stuff.
Yeah,
we're all web and cloud, man.
Well, that's
I mean,
the
there's
thing.
some
Like,
off-frame.
I've always had two mindsets, right? And in the Army, the biggest one was I'm the best at what I do. And people are like, well, why you say that? I'm like, because there's a reason. I always want to learn from somebody else. So if I go into a room and I say I'm the best at what I do, and someone knows something that I don't know, it forces me to learn from them. Because if I don't learn from them, I'm no longer the best at what I do because there's someone that knows more than me. So you're constantly learning. So, but you have to be humble enough to realize that, right? You can't just go in there and be arrogant and cocky and be like, oh, I'm the best. No. You have to, it's just something you believe. You don't say it out loud. It's just something you believe so that when you meet these people, you have that willingness to learn from them. And then there's being humbled. And I had never been so humbled so quick as when I was working on a reverse engineering project. And I'm talking to this cat on Discord, and we're going through it, working through it and everything. He's like, oh, do this, and this. And eventually age came up. And I was like, how old are you? He's like, oh, I'm only like, because we were talking about doing something. He goes, oh, man, I'm only 17. I can't do nothing yet. I was like, you're what? You're how old? And hold up. You just,
Almost
like,
17.
I'm talking assembly, C, everything we was looking at. This cat was, beep, is this? I'm like, what? And it was crazy. But I love that because there would be people out there that be like, you only know this, you're no good. Me, I'm like, hold up, teach me. Hold up, teach me. I need to know.
Yo, man, look.
Seriously, and that's how it is.
I'm convinced that anybody that knows assembly like that is dangerous. Like they need to put on a watch list. Like if you can speak assembly like English, you need to put on a watch list. Watch list with your name on it, because like, man, when you
don't put them on the watch list.
Bro, when you understand assembly, it's over. It's so,
dude, assembly is dangerous.
Yes,
if you can write, look.
Oh.
So I did. Yeah. I got my reverse engineering malware cert from SANS, right, earlier this year. And even going through there, they only teach you the basics of assembly to understand how to reverse engineer malware. So what are the assembly code things that you look for? And so even that, and I'm talking, I used to, I always had the intent of learning assembly. So I would pick up books, I'd look at different things, but I never sat down to truly learn it and understand it. So I would just kind of get the basics. And even going through that reverse engineering malware course, I'm just like, wait, what? Please explain that again. How's it do that? I'm like, and it would be like this one, just claiming a variable would be like 30 lines of assembly, and you're like, but it's one line. And I'm like, yeah, but it takes 20 lines in this, but it's print this. Yeah, but that's 50 lines. Like, what?
Dang.
What do you mean?
Yep. That's why it's a special core group of people. When I see malware unicorn.
Oh my God.
And the stuff that she has done. Malware unicorn and Azalea from ARM Assembly.
Oh God. Dude, look, the things these I've always told myself I want to get into like exploit development, right? But to do it properly and to truly develop an exploit that can be hidden in such a way, you have to be able to understand the assembly. You have to be able to write assembly, because you have to write C 9 times out of 10.
Yep.
Now, if you write the whole thing in assembly, good on you. But usually you write C with inline assembly to interact with the memory or with whatever you're trying to do. And I'm just like, I want to, but I don't know if I have 50 years to learn it, because that's probably how long it would take me to figure all that out.
You know what? But you know what? It's a time sink in the journey. That's it. There's no finish line.
Yeah.
There's no finish line.
It was so, always
shoot, just like when
it was just always too low level for me.
Was that?
Like when it first got introduced to me, I looked at it, I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, this and I was just like, nah. Like, it's just I saw the power of it, I get it. But I just realized I'm gonna play up here at this like C++, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be cool up here. Like,
I'm gonna play with the smokers, right? The smokers and jokers. We'll let them computer geeks keep their toys. We're not even gonna bully them. We're gonna let them go. and I'm gonna be a cool kid over here.
And I'm gonna just be real nice to them when I see them.
I'm not gonna bully them. I'm not gonna be mean. I'm gonna go up like, hey, dude. So what can I help you out with today? You got any bullies? I'll beat them up for you. Like, I ain't messing around with you. That's like in the Army, right? You don't mess with your finance, your food, and your computer guys or supply, because them four people run your life. So.
Yep. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. You know Unix. If you know Unix, you know Linux. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could pick up assembly with no question.
Yeah.
Because, like with Unix, right? Especially with Solaris. So I'm still to this day a huge fan of Solaris. I love Solaris.
Solaris still exists?
And
in Charles' world, he got it. That's like one of his 5 operating systems. You didn't know? He got Solaris right there next to him.
That, and I'm into mechanical keyboarding, so that's another hobby. So that's one of the keyboards I've built.
This guy.
So I'm filling this whole roll up with just different keycaps right now. So,
dude, that's awesome.
Keys.
But when I go to type, even though I'm good at it, every so often I still gotta look at keys, and I'd be so lost on what I'm trying to type on.
God, there's no numbers on it. There's nothing. Yeah, there's no numbers on this at all. So it's just.
I'll stick to my
it's all
Razer.
customized, man.
I'll stick to my Black Widow Elite mechanical keyboard right now. It got all the letters and numbers.
Yep.
And I could hear the key taps, and it annoys people when I'm on calls because you can hear the key taps.
Oh,
yeah, because I mean, this is pretty quiet. But I do have a Model M IBM keyboard, Model M, the old school, like 1984.
That's like the death of
Classic.
Keyboards right there, man. That thing was loud as all get out.
Yeah. Clack, 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 clack. And I wound up replacing the escape key and got a custom-made FreeBSD escape keycap, Beastie. Yeah, Unix, like, it'll always be something special about Unix that it's just something about it, man. It's just...
Yeah.
Whew. Hold on, I gotta get my keyboard. That thing is just, I gotta grab that.
You gotta.
He's too much, man. I love him.
This dude got me Googling Solaris, yo. I'm looking at Oracle Solaris 11. Like it's a little crap.
Dude, he got so much energy. Oh man,
There we go.
Pulling it out the woodwork.
And the custom keycap.
Hey, when are you gonna
Classic.
replace that PS2 cable?
No, it's I'm not gonna do that. I have a converter for this.
Oh, okay. I figured you'd have cracked it open by now and just made it a USB cable.
No, I had the converter was like $2. So I got a $2 converter.
Man.
And this thing's just I love it.
It's loud, man. It's loud.
Yeah, I'm a keyboard fan.
All right, so Charles, man, I got a question. You brought up Solaris. Does Solaris still have does it still have containers?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what Solaris got its containers. It's funny. Solaris has containers which are called zones.
Right.
And zones is borrowed from the FreeBSD jails. So how zones works in Solaris, each zone has its own address space in the Solaris kernel.
Yep.
So when you patch the Solaris box, then you also patch the zones. Now, Solaris came out with a technology called LDOMs, logical domain. I forgot what it's called, but those were like 100% like virtual. So I could have I used to have the Sun T52 series because that hosted LDOMs. It had a virtual hypervisor, so I could run Solaris 9 and 10 all on the same box with totally separate kernels, everything. And everything was configured at the hypervisor level.
Right.
Now, where Solaris got that, where they got that from was AIX. So I also did AIX. So I'm a plug here. Northrop Grumman made me a better Unix engineer. So, and quick story. So when I did the when I first started Northrop Grumman, well, pretty much when I did the interview, part of my interview was I had to configure a Sun volume manager, a ZFS file system, and a zone. That's part of my interview. So I had to sit at a Sun computer and do that. So once I got hired, then I did Solaris, right? So I was like, oh, okay. So my boss comes to me one day. He said, "You really love Solaris, don't you?" I said, Solaris is my thing. I love it. He said, "Good, you're on AIX in 6 months." So I said, "Excuse me?" He said, "You're gonna do AIX for 6 months." I said, "Oh, okay." He said, "And remember, you still have to write stuff in Corn Shell and Perl. We couldn't use Bash. You had to use Corn Shell and Perl. That was the only language you could use." So that's how I got good with Corn Shell and Perl. And I still use Corn Shell to this day on my MacBook. So yeah, I don't even use Bash. I use Corn Shell.
I just put Z Shell on my MacBook and on my Z Shell.
I did AIX. Look at that. See? So I did AIX for 6 months. And then whoever liked AIX did Solaris for 6 months. So that was our cross training.
Mm.
And then after 6 months, you went back to your favorite platform. And then another 6 months, you went back to AIX. So that's how I got good at both platforms.
Nothing wrong with that. I mean, cross training is where it's at, though. And I was talking to where I'm at now, and we were discussing cross training, even like GRC, blue team and red team, and how it would work. And I said, here's the thing. I said, to do any one of those jobs, you need, especially as a consultant, you need to know how to do at least a high level of all those jobs. So to be a good blue teamer, you need to know how to break into things.
Yeah.
While at the same time, you need to understand security policy and how to enable a business when you're consulting and going, hey, we need to do this, that, and the third. Well, where in the regulation or policy does it state I have to do this? Because that's what they're trying to go by. There's a lot of times, whether it's NIST or ISO or PCI DSS or whatever else, SOC 2, there's always something governing them that's the reason. All right. So if they're going to play check the box and we're just checking the box to get this done, then at least make it a reason for them to do it. All right. So, hey, this will be for PCI DSS compliance. This will be for, paragraph A, subsection C of NIST or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Just like for GRC, sometimes you got to be able to talk on blue team or red team things and be able to get them to bite on, hey, you need whatever platform or you need to be able to do this. And in order to do that, you have to understand the technology side of things. All right, so we want you to get a pen test for this regulation, but when we want you to do it, we'd really like to see a white or a gray box or a black box test for these reasons, because it'll help us mature your security posture and help do regulation or help do, whatever for these purposes. So if you can speak to all levels, you don't have to be efficient or proficient in all levels, but if you can speak at all levels of the industry, then it sets you up better as a consultant to do any one job of the industry. And
also point out, and this pen testers, red teamers, and even threat hunters, if you really get really good at writing reports, and here's what's helped me with reporting, right? When you do hack the box, write a report on the box that you just hacked.
Man, I should have
just write a basic pen test report.
Although that'd have been a lot of reports
on the box that you hacked. Yeah, but again, it helps you grow on your journey. So as you're putting out reports, people can critique them, and you get better at writing.
And that's why I like templates. So I like looking at how people have done templates. So if I'm gonna work now, it's one
Yeah.
thing if you're building your own company, right? If you're building your own company, you got to a lot of times you can go out and find templates, but you're still for the most part going to start from scratch on how you want to do things as a company.
Right.
But if you're gonna work for a
Yeah.
company and they're saying, "Hey, we're hiring you to
Yeah.
do X, Y, and Z," and you're not management,
Well, that's different. Yeah.
you better be provided templates to do the reporting in their fashion. Or they better have a structure of how they want to do things. Because when that structure isn't there, when those report templates or those reports of how they do reporting isn't there, then you're coming in hired as a technician, and all of a sudden now you've got to do the entire job, and you're like, but I thought you would. Then you're coming in hired as a technician, and all of a sudden now you've got to do the entire job, and you're like, but I thought you would have this.
Yeah.
Like, are we using Faraday? Are we using
Coming in
Serpico?
rogue.
Are we using, what are we using for reporting?
Yeah.
Do you have a baseline template for me to follow of like, hey, you want these sections? No? All right, I'm going to go out on a whim and pull my OSCP template out that I used, and we're just going to go that route.
Yep. Hey, you said you needed a template.
Right?
I'm just following directions.
Look, if you just tell me your end goal and you don't tell me how you want me to get
That's what I'm
there,
saying.
I'm going to go the most efficient route I know. I'm going to hit Google and I'm going to look at my hard drive and see what I have.
That's all you can do. Seriously. That's all you can do. And like, and that's the thing. Whatever it is that you want to learn about, and testers should learn, like you said, the different policies, security policies as well too. So you kind of know how far you can and can't go in a different environment. So if you're pen testing a PCI compliant device, if you understand PCI compliance, then that kind of that aids in what you can and can't do during a penetration test. So somebody questions like, hey, how come you didn't run this particular exploit? Well, based on PCI compliance code section, blah, 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 that's pretty much not allowed. And because again, people that are hiring, just because a person hires you to do the job doesn't mean that they understand your job.
Yeah.
And I think it's your job to help them to understand what it is that you've been hired for.
And that's what I love about where I got hired now. So where I'm at now, they're a small company. So they understand, like the guy, he writes code. He's a pen tester. I mean, he's a consultant. He started this coming from consultant work, started this company and was like, all right. So him and the other co-founder. So they really understand that aspect of things, which is what I love, because they understand needing to know, they know the job, but then they understand needing to know regulation. It's when you get to some of these bigger companies where now you have a CEO and a CISO and a CTO and a CFO and a COO, and you're like 10 levels deep at, a consultant level, and you're like dealing with sales engineers and everything else, and your boss probably doesn't even know what the heck's going on, and his boss definitely doesn't know what's going on, and you're like, all right, I'm just gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
And you just go to work, and you're like, I'm just here to do a job.
So funny story, right? Two funny stories. So, the first one, DerbyCon last year, right? So I didn't know what Harmjoy looked like. So I was recording his talk at DerbyCon. So the line was wrapped around the corner, waiting for his talk. I walked up to him. I didn't know who he was. I thought he was waiting in line. I said, "Yeah, this talk is going to be off the hook. I can't wait to see it. Harmjoy is awesome." He said, and he was like, just kind of nod a little bit. And I said, "Hey, man, I don't know if you're into like hacking Active Directory and stuff like that. We should definitely check out his blog." I gave him his blog. I said, "Check out Harmjoy." He said, "Nice to meet you." He said, "Nice to meet you." I said, yeah. He started laughing hysterically. He said, "This is so good." He said, "Well, I'm glad to know you like what I write." I said, "Yeah."
Yeah, man. Like some of that stuff gets crazy, and
it happened to get DerbyCon.
It's funny because I haven't been outside Pittsburgh for any conferences yet, other than being in Kuwait and going to one over there. So I haven't really gotten to meet everybody. other than virtually since I started doing this.
Yeah.
Right, I finally like got to see
Right.
and talk to Shannon and Davin Jackson and all
Yeah.
these other people. But the only
Mhm.
one I actually met in person was Caitlin Bowden, and it's because where she's from.
Yeah.
I was at B-Sides Pittsburgh, I think it was,
Yep.
and she was there, and I was like,
Uh-huh.
oh, I
Yeah.
I finally get to meet someone that's actually in
And
industry that I talk
that's how it
to.
starts.
Like, yo, what's up?
Yeah.
So like eventually I want to
That's-
get to like Black Hat.
it's
I want to get
crazy
to all these other places. But that's another reason why I do this, because I don't get to talk to everybody. Like
Yeah.
we interact on Twitter or whatever, but it's not real conversation. It's just kind of feeding a news article
Yeah.
or
It's like,
drama
hey, what's
or
up?
whatever. Whereas doing this, we
Yeah.
talk security and get to actually, enjoy conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been at two Black Hats, and a couple of my buddies that have
Okay.
gone. I mean, they go to them all the time, stuff like that or whatever, and they're just kind of
Yeah.
like, oh, it's definitely
Mhm.
commercialized.
Oh, yeah.
Even the first one I went to, it's so freaking commercialized
is.
now. But it's like
Mhm.
what I enjoyed most was there were some talks that were really good, but it's really just like the little villages, the little mini hackathons, and like really just like connecting with people, and then just like
Yeah.
taking over like a
Yeah.
room somewhere and just like, all right, what are we trying to do? Oh, we're trying to get into this. I'm like, oh, well, this is cool. Like it's just that part of it, and I've heard
Yeah.
like if you, especially for the ones in Vegas, like that B-sides is really good. I didn't make it to it the last few times I went out there. I would definitely, I mean, anybody, like if you can get there, like Black Hat's an experience, man. Like granted, it's gonna be completely different now, like in a post-COVID world. Like
Mhm.
it's gonna be a little bit before you're kind of
Yeah.
comfortable. Be like, do I really want to be in a room?
I don't know.
Right.
Look, I'm different, man. I don't care who I'm around. Like, I'm one of those people that I got no fear. Screw it. Let's go. We want to drink. Let's go have a few drinks. Alcohol kills bacteria anyways. You'll be good. But here's the thing. I'm the same way. Even going to like B-sides and stuff, I don't go for the talks. Yeah, the talks can be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I go to network. I go to meet people.
Yeah.
Like, so even when I went
Hang
to
out,
B-sides,
yeah.
I sat down at the casino bar for a while and had drinks with a few people. Like,
Mhm.
that's where I found like got
Yeah.
entertainment and talk to people and learn more, because I don't have the attention
Yeah.
span to sit there and listen to someone talk for a half hour. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna fall asleep. Like, I have to be able to talk back. If I can't hold a conversation and ask questions, then I'm gonna get bored. Like, I'm just gonna zone out, and I have to be able to. And that's why I go
Yeah.
like, oh, do online courses. Why? I'm gonna sit here. I'm gonna zone out, and I'm gonna go on the internet or on my phone and not pay a lick of attention. So no, I'm not gonna waste my money on online courses. For people that can do that, good on them. I don't have that attention span, and I know this.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't waste my money.
Right. And that's what it's all about. So, crazy story number 2. I just thought about it. My boss now, Tim Medine, right? And I met him, informally. I went to his talk back in 2014 on Kerber roasting, right?
Ooh, nice.
So, the talk was amazing. Yeah, on Kerber roasting, right? So I was like, okay. So fast forward to 2020, I get hired by Tim Medine. So on the interview call, he's like, so tell me what you know about Kerber roasting, right? So I went through how I understand Kerber roasting. I pretty much put it in the form of like going to the movie theater. Active Directory is the big movie theater. You're requesting your ticket, which is the TGT. So once you get to TGT, you go inside the movie theater, which is Active Directory, and then you request a service to get a ticket back. So now here's the thing. The service could be popcorn. It could be jujubes. It could be
some cookie dough bites. Come on now, you
refreshments,
can't go
whatever
wrong
else.
with cookie dough bites.
Yeah. There you go. So once you've received that, now it's like, okay, you have to go up towards the front. It's like, hey, here's my ticket. Okay, let's check to make sure that you're in at the right time or are you going to be in the right theater? Meaning, do you have access to that service? That's how I broke down Kerber roasting. He looked at me and said, "Hey, that was awesome." Wait, he said, "That's the first time I ever heard it that way before, right?" So I was like, "Okay." Not realizing, so I got hired, right? And I think like yesterday or the day before, they said, "Hey, hey, Charles, we got to know something." I said, "What's up?" Did you know that Tim Medine created the Kerber roasting attack, right? I said, "No, I didn't know that." Like, yeah, he discovered it first. He said, "We just got to know. Did you know that already?" I said, "Not till you just told me." And shit, sure enough, I Googled. I was like, "Oh," because I remember him talking about it in 2014, but I didn't think he was the dude that actually
Yeah.
found the technique.
So what is
So,
what is what is that attack?
because they
So it's now.
Kerber roasting,
Go ahead.
it's an attack on Active Directory. So go ahead.
I was gonna say, go ahead, Charles. Explain it.
Oh no, what I was gonna say is it's an attack when you're attacking. Oh, I was so when you're attacking, like, say, Active Directory, right, in the
Yeah.
Windows environment, and you're say you got you already have like an assumed breach, you already have access to a specific bot of domain control in the domain, right? And you're pretty much searching for user accounts that have service principal number, which is the SPN. With that SPN, you can use that to kind of request a TGT ticket, and any user in the domain can do this. Once you request it, then they send you back like a TGS ticket and then that verifies whether or not you have access to that particular service.
Right.
But I mean, that's Kerber roasting in a nutshell. But now, if you don't have access, then pretty much you're out of luck. But you can actually gain pretty much like hashes to get other creds within the domain.
Yeah, we
If that
used
makes
it.
sense.
I've used it in a lab environment, and I'm not going to say which lab environment,
Yeah.
but I've used it in a lab environment to do.
Yeah.
I used it to migrate from one box. So you had one box when you got there. You got.
Yeah.
I want to say it was Exchange. No, SQL. Yeah, it was a SQL Kerberos ticket you got. And from that ticket, you were able to use that hash that you get from there to access another box as an admin. And then you got, okay, I've got admin. So now I'm just going to use Mimikatz, grab the hashes for everything, and migrate from there through PS exec using hashes and passwords and everything else like that. So you just migrate from one box to the other. So if you can get a service, especially something like SQL service, which 9 times out of 10 companies use as running on
admin.
service, so they're running a system, then guess what? You now have system on any box that you can use that ticket for to access the other boxes.
What are you talking about, Charles? People don't install their software and then change the default passwords and not use the administrators?
No, they don't. No, they don't. Some people just leave that password blank. They give you the good old SA and
SASA or SA blank.
So okay, so I do have a funny story about that. So I went to gonna leave names out, obviously.
Yeah.
No, I like life. So I went and I did a short consulting gig for this company. I was there for maybe 2 months, right? Had to help them set up some stuff, set up their identity management software, all this stuff, or whatever, right? And literally, I was training one of their guys who was going to take over for the admin. I was like, "Look, here's how you install everything. Here's how you set it up. Here's how you run workflows." I was like, "Look, now before you go to production, right? Take a backup copy. Like you can actually backup copy of the default account that comes with it, right? But change the password and then go put it in there, right?" And I was like, "But when you go to do the update, the way the update file was set up at the time, if you left the credential in it would overwrite the root credential, right? So I was like, make sure you take that out before you go into production script." He goes, "Oh yeah, I got it, whatever." So I'm like, cool. So I leave. It's 2 months later, right? I get a call from the manager. He's like, "Man, he's freaking out." And I'm like, "What is going on?" Went to do an update, nothing's working. We can't log into the system. So I talked to the admin dude. I was like, "Dude, what's happening?" He goes, "I think I blew away the root credential." And I'm like, you backed it up, right?" He's like, No, because I was like, when I updated the file, this, but I told you, remember not to put the root credential in the update file because it's gonna blow it away.
Oh
He
my
was like,
God.
okay, so but we can use it, but you can fix it, right? We can fix it. I was like, oh yeah, we can fix it. This is what you do. Go to your computer, pull up your resume, and start typing. I was like, because bruh, like
Yep.
RM-RF slash.
Yep.
like there's
Yep.
nothing. I was like,
Put
literally
that
the only
resume.
I was like, the only thing we can do is blow away this production instance and like hopefully like restore back to one of you guys' old backups. I was like, but like this is like the root credential of the software system. We can't.
See, and it's
we're going
funny
to
too
do.
because like I felt I never did anything that bad, but like I felt like I had when I worked for as a security engineer using McAfee ESM,
Uh-huh.
and I was responsible for like maintenance,
Yeah.
alarms, rules, correlation, everything, updates, all that stuff. So like if something broke, sometimes just with the way the box was and the way ESM worked, you just had to restart the collector or whatever. Well, when you're SSH'd in to like 10 different levels and you don't realize where you're at and you do a shutdown -R, you might want to make sure you're not on the main box, the main environment. And that's a multi-tenant for almost everybody of our clients. And it's not a collector. It is the actual ESM console and everything, which takes, mind you, probably a half hour, 45 minutes to shut down and come back up to life, maybe longer. Yeah, I did. I was like, my buddy was like, hey, why'd I lose access to ESM? I was like, you see, what had happened was I did this thinking I was here when I was really here. He goes, don't ever do that again unless you get fair warning. And you're not the only one that's done that because we've all done it at least once. I was like, oh, okay, cool. As long as we're in the same boat that we've all done it.
The first bash script I ever wrote was the script to update my profile to always tell me what box I was on. That was the first one I ever wrote because I used to get so SSH happy. I'd be like 4 jumps in and be like, yeah, but like, wait, what box am I on again? Hold on. Let me. And so that was the first ever bash script I wrote. Was I would change my profile so I would always know my username and what box I was on.
Yeah, man. The honestly, you know what the funniest thing is? I never did scripting, like bad scripting or anything like that. And one of the first ones I wrote, oh, Davin's here. I just saw his message. How's it going, Davin? One of the first ones I wrote was in 25 when I went to the Army. So back in 2010, I probably wrote it in like 11 or 12. And one of my buddies was from the Air Force was like, hey, I don't really do a whole lot with computers, even though he was teaching the computer course of that block of instruction. He goes, I know enough for the course, but I'd like you to help with the troubleshooting. Can you like break some of these boxes and have them fix it? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I built a little script that upon startup would immediately shut down your computer after like 5 or 10 seconds if you didn't know how to go into command line and cancel the shutdown. So literally on boot, it was in startup to start shutting down again in like 10 seconds, unless you went into command line and were like, shut down. I think it was shutdown -C or whatever to cancel the shutdown command was. And I had so many people, man. I used to see how quick people could do it, so I showed them what I did, and they kept trying to make it shorter and shorter on me. I think the only time limit I wasn't able to do was like 3 seconds. I think that was my limit. I think if I had 4 or 5 seconds from startup, my hands were quick enough to do it. If I didn't have that time frame, then it would just start up, shut down, start up, shut down.
Oh my goodness. Dude, it's funny. We had a dude named Reboot Bob. We used to call him Reboot Bob.
Oh boy.
So he used to work on Slack. Right? You knew Reboot Bob did something because here's what you hear at the queue. Oh shit. So we swing every queue and go, all you hear is, oh shit. And then Reboot Bob would get up. You see him get up and he'd take the long walk around, and then he'd come to your desk. hey man, I think I screwed something up. And then you look, I was like, Bob, we know what you did. You rebooted it by accident. You hit the 6, didn't you? Because we're looking at the monitor and you're. So he got the nickname Reboot Bob. Every time you heard him say, shit, you knew something was wrong.
Dude, so I had all right. So we're over an hour now. So I'm gonna give you one last story,
Yeah.
and then we're gonna get ready to sign off. I was in my 25 Delta course, so I was a cyber network defender going through all these SANS courses, right? And I had a dude in class who liked to go on like he was already failing, yet liked to go on Facebook and not pay attention.
Yeah.
Little did the majority of the class know they didn't change the admin passwords on their computer, so I owned on my Armitage screen because I got tired of going to the Metasploit, so I just did Armitage and was like, I want people to know I own their boxes. I don't want them to have to look for it. I want that big GUI in front of me that shows the red lightning that shows I own all your boxes. Yeah, I had over half the class's boxes owned. So I would do like a screenshot on his, and every time I saw he was on like Facebook or something, I would restart his computer. And I had persistence, so every time it came back up, I owned the box. I had it again. And he'd be like, what the? And you just hear him in the back of the classroom. And he'd be like, what the? Come back up. Go right back to Facebook. Reboot. When you gonna learn to pay attention?
That's all you did.
Like, I sat there in class restarting boxes if they weren't paying attention. Like, it's one thing if you were, like, getting 80s and 90s on your SANS certs and passing the courses.
Yeah.
But if you're failing at, like, not even finishing the test, I'm going to restart your box if you ain't paying attention. And so I restarted boxes. I literally sat there. And I had two officers. They weren't even going for the MOS. They came. One was a warrant. One was an actual officer who saw, like, they sat behind me and saw my screen. And they came up and they were like, what is that? What are you doing? And I was like, oh, these are all the boxes in the classroom that I have control of. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I own all these boxes. And like, it's not ours, is it? I was like, I don't know. I was like, I just look at what people are doing and restart their boxes if they ain't paying attention. So then it was their mission to try to get into my box.
It could be.
And I changed my password. Like, my password became this long, extravagant password. I like updated stuff, patched things. So like they couldn't get into my box from like the normal way. They would have had to like fish me or whatever.
Oh my goodness.
And so like I had access to all these boxes solely because they didn't change the password. That was the same on all of them.
Oh my goodness.
It was fun. It was good times. So anywho, let's get some last words from you, David, and then we'll go to Charles, and we'll finish out the night. Mind you, this is a podcast also, so either tonight or probably tomorrow morning. First thing, I'll put it out on my podcast.
Okay.
But it does stay out on YouTube. Look, my whole YouTube, I don't take videos down. They stay up. Everybody's going to see your pretty faces for years to come. Because even when I come out with my own streaming service, guess what? I'm migrating all my videos to my new streaming service. So for years to come, they're going to see them all.
It's all good, man. My face is already up out there.
Good thing I'm not camera shy.
Right?
I know it.
First of all, appreciate you having me on. This has been fun. Just kind of, shooting shit, hanging out. I would say for anybody that's watching this, if you got an interest in cybersecurity, man, really all it takes is just be curious. Be curious, be willing to always learn and kind of go after something. I always tell everybody if there's anything I can do to kind of help, you hit me up on Twitter. You can. My website has all my socials, iamdavidlee.com. And that's it, man. Try and learn something new every day.
Sounds good. Go ahead, Charles.
All right. Well, all I want to say is that one, I really enjoyed myself tonight. Had a little reboot issue with my Ubuntu box, so kind of kicked me off there for a second, a little bit late, but I'm glad I made it through. Had a great time tonight. And I just want to say for anyone out there I just want you to start with this. There is no such thing as imposter syndrome. If you want to get into this industry, you can, you will. And again, if no one else is rooting for you, the BSD band is rooting for you. And if you have any questions, please feel free to hit me up on Twitter at any time. I don't care. DM me, whatever. They're always open. Love y'all. Yeah.
All right, guys. Hey, it's been a great night. This has been an awesome security happy hour. I loved having these two guys on. I look forward to seeing you all next week. And I have 2 new guests on, at least 2. And from there, look, go ahead down below. I have David and Charles' Twitter and LinkedIn in the description down below. All right, I have David's YouTube channel down below. And Charles, if you have a YouTube channel,
Boom.
go ahead and send that to me. I'll put it in the description. I have all of the ways you can support or contact me there also, whether it be Patreon, merchandise, GoFundMe, Twitter, LinkedIn, Discord. It's all right down there in the description. So go ahead and check it out. Other than that, this has been Cyber Warrior. It is Cyber Warrior Studios, and I will catch you all next time.